on this computer. Is she going? I think it's going. Okay, great. Hi, Leah.
Hi.
What brings you in today?
Well, I know we've talked about in the past that I've struggled a lot with my body image issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like as of recently, like maybe in the past almost not even a month, maybe like 2 weeks even, I feel like my body image issues have kind of resurfaced, and in the sense that like I feel like I've had a much more negative perspective towards my body image issue than I was having the past couple months.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I think like I guess in the past couple months, I wasn't like when I looked in the mirror, like I didn't really like have any thoughts. Like it's just kind of like, yep, that's my body,
Right.
like nothing negative, but nothing positive. But that's like in my opinion, I'd rather have nothing than something negative, you know? So for me, I was like kind of like in an okay place. Like I didn't like think too much about like my body or my weight or like if or like how I looked physically. And then I feel like just in the past like 2-3 weeks maybe, I feel like I've been paying a lot of attention to that. And like when I look in the mirror, like I just like am really unhappy with what I see. So
So you've been struggling with body issues for a while now, but just lately in the past 2 weeks, it's kind of had like almost a flare up
yeah,
where you're starting to see yourself in a negative light when prior to 2 weeks ago you just existed.
yeah, definitely is how I would describe it. And like I think I know, well, I don't know, it's hard because like I don't know if I'll ever like be fully recovered from my issue. And so like that's why part of me is like, now that I'm experienced, like now that I feel really negative about it, part of me is like, whatever, like hopefully this will pass. It's kind of like in the long, like whatever, in the long view, in the long shot, in the big picture.
Yeah.
I know that this like will hopefully pass. But it's also hard being in it now because I also know that this could also last like a couple months of me feeling like really down about myself. And like I don't want that. Like I really don't want that.
Yeah.
So
I can see how like big picture like this is only for a moment, but your feelings right now are still valid, and like that hurt and having those like negative thoughts about yourself, that's still difficult and challenging for you right now. What do you think started? Like how did it change from 2 weeks ago, feeling okay about yourself, to now these negative thoughts?
Yeah, I think I know how it like kind of like resurfaced, and I did it to myself. I bought a scale, like a weight, like scale, I guess that's what you call it. And like I haven't owned one probably in like 5+ years. I haven't owned a scale. Just because like I kind of learned that like I need to stop. Like it doesn't matter. And as of recently, I was kind of like, well, I gave myself the benefit of the doubt. I was like, I can't avoid them forever, but I mean, you kind of can. I could if I really wanted to. I was like, I can't avoid them forever. I was like, what if I go to the doctor and they tell me I'm 150 pounds and I'm obese? And just the benefit of the doubt that like, you're in a good place. And like, you can maybe not think, actually, I don't even think it's that I was in a good place. I just tried to convince myself that like, you'll be fine. And so like, I bought a scale. And I think that's what has kind of like resurfaced it, because like I have been weighing myself significant. I mean, I didn't own a scale before, so it's obviously significantly more than I have the past like 5 years,
Right.
because I didn't own a scale before. So I think like just because I see that number now and how different it was than when I was like 17, I think that's what's caused a lot of the more recent issues.
Yeah. So you went out and bought a scale thinking like, I'll be fine, but now having the scale has been a problem. And now you're comparing yourself to yourself, but like several years back, like in high school when you're a cheerleader. Whatnot.
Yeah, so it's hard because I don't know. I feel like I'm in this hard tension. Not tension, but like understanding of knowing that like I'm older and my body's changing. and obviously it's gonna change when I was 17. You know, it's a
Yeah.
hard fact. It's a hard thing. Like, you know the facts, but that doesn't change the feeling.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. Like, I want to work through it, but it's also one of those things where I'm like, if I never believe I can fully recover from it, is there a point in working through it? I don't know. I mean, obviously, there is a point in working through it, but also I'm like, if I'm not fully convinced I'll fully recover, then what is the point, I guess, of ever working, of ever like fully resolving the issue?
So you want to recover, like that would be great if you didn't have these issues.
Yeah.
You are struggling believing that that could ever even happen. That makes me wonder if it did happen, if you weren't struggling with these issues anymore, what would that look like for you? How would things be different?
And like that's so hard because I'd like to say that like if I wasn't struggling with this, like I would be happy, right? And I'd feel confident and like I wouldn't care what I saw in the mirror. It's hard because it's like, well, there was a time in my life where I did way less, but I didn't think those things anyways.
Right.
So it's like even if my ideal world, if those things changed, would I still be happy about it? I don't know. It's hard for me to ever picture a world where it didn't matter. Or not that it didn't matter, but I didn't have that issue.
Yeah.
I think that's just because I've had it for so long. And I'm so used to coming in and out of my life that poverty is always gonna be like I can't imagine a world where like I wouldn't have, because even in like the seasons of my life where I'm not severely struggling with it, like it's still like in the back of my mind.
Right.
You know, it's not like as upfront as the other ones, but like it's still in my head.
Yeah. It's been something that you've had for forever now.
Yeah.
And so the idea of not having it feels almost impossible.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. So, and it's hard because like I'm married and like I know your validation like shouldn't come from people. Like, because like I'm Christian. Right. So, like I know that like the validation comes from God and like blah blah blah. But for me, it's like I do want my husband's approval. And it's not that he doesn't give it to me. Like it's not like he's also out here being like, wow, look at this skinny bit. Look at this skinny person. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he still calls me beautiful and says he admires me and like loves me. It's hard because like I think I also like want to be a certain way for him.
Gotcha. And what would that be? Like
I don't know. That's the thing. It's like I guess it'd be like I'd just be skinnier. So you like want validation from your husband, he's giving it to you, but just not in the same sense that you want. Is that right? I think so. I don't know. It's hard. I think more so it's just like I do want the validation from my husband, but I know I shouldn't.
Yeah.
And he gives it to me, but it's not enough. Maybe it's more that.
Yeah. That's that he's giving it to you, but it's just not as much as you want, or
yeah, like it doesn't help me as much as I would hope it would.
Right.
Or maybe you know sometimes I think like maybe it's just lying to me. You know, maybe he's just being like, of course, babe, like you know, blah, blah, blah.
But it's just saying those things because you're his wife.
Yeah.
Than, like meaning it.
Yeah. And obviously, like I have to trust what he's saying.
Yeah.
And like I do trust him. He's my husband. Like
yeah.
I trust him with everything, and like I always know, like he married me. Like we like I just like I know he's true and genuine. It's like I know what he's saying with his words is true, but I can't help but be like, oh, but what if he still thinks like I'm fat or like you know things like that.
If he were to tell you like more complimentary things about your image and your body image, how do you think that would affect you?
I mean, I'd like to say it'd make me happier and I wouldn't care as much about my body. You know, like I mean, that's how it should work, right? Like I'd like to think in an ideal world if he was very complimentary about it. But then again, maybe it's not even about like, because like, is that even gonna be enough for me at the end of the day? you know, because like at the end of it all, like even if he says so, like I don't even know if that's still gonna be enough for me to be convinced.
Yeah. Has there been a time in your life where you felt like assured in your own image? I know you talked about high school, like when you were 17, you compare yourself now to then. What was then like?
What's hard is like I don't think I've had a past time where I felt assured in my image,
Right.
but in the present, looking back on the past, I can say I was assured of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because it's like in the moment, like back when I was 17, in the moment I was like, oh my gosh, like still hate my body, not happy with it, like da da da. But now that like 5 years later, I'm looking back on that, I'm like, I was happy. Actually, like you looked great. Like you should have been happy with yourself, you know? So it's weird because like at the time, I didn't feel very assured of it, but looking back now, it's almost like, yeah, like you're actually okay. Like,
Yeah. So like seeing yourself in the past tense, you're like, oh yeah, I was great. And so
yeah,
it's almost something to like that now you can compare yourself to. And
yeah,
it's like a goal or a standard
yeah,
that you're currently not meeting because you're not 17 anymore.
yeah, definitely. Like it definitely feels like that's my goal or standing to like be back to how I was when I was 17. But it's, like I think, like I said earlier, it's also hard because I know that's like, of course, you're not going to be the same as when you're 17,
Right.
you know. But it's hard because like it's like once you have something and you know you can have it, it's hard to not want it again.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense.
So,
and it's hard because you mentioned how your body's changing and you're wanting to be a woman, and that is something that you is still a big value to you. And like your body's changing so you can be a mother and whatnot. That's something that you value and is important to you. But it's just being difficult having that change.
yeah, the change has been really hard. And I think part of me is like, you know, like you'll push through it, you know, get through the trenches. Like it'll be worth it at the end of the day. And I think it's like this whole thing, I'm trying to be optimistic and try to give myself the benefit of the doubt of like, it's gonna be worth it when I have kids one day. It's gonna be, you know, worth it. Like, but you know, it's always that other side of me that's being like, but you never fully recover. It doesn't matter because you'll probably always have these issues to some extent.
Yeah.
You know, I guess it's just about like the severity of the extent.
What would be the ideal for you for the severity? Like in your ideal world, if you always have these issues, how would a day go by where you're okay having them? What would like that look like for you?
I think for me, it would be like being able to get on the scale and not care, like looking in the mirror and not feeling proud, just being like, yeah, this is my body,
Right.
you know, not being emotionless, but just being like very accepting of it. I don't know if I'll ever be at the point where I'm like, oh my god, like I love this body that like God gave me, you know, but at least being like, yeah, this is the body that God gave me, and I'm gonna honor it more than anything.
Yeah, I think that's a really good goal to like and a standard to hold yourself to. And that's admirable that you want to walk up to that scale that you have right now that you're having a hard time with, being able to face that and being okay with it.
Yeah.
That takes strength and courage. Yeah. What do you think would be some steps to like get to that point from where you are now?
I don't know. That's what's the hard thing.
Yeah.
That's like, this part of me is like, if I wasn't happy, like, okay, right now, I think like if I was under 110, I would be happy. But when I was under 110, I wasn't happy.
Right.
So part of me is like, even if I did get under 110, would I be happy?
Yeah. It feels like the cycle almost. Like once I'm at 110, then I have to be at 105.
Yeah.
Once I'm at 105, 100. Like it's never ending, it sounds like.
Yeah. So that's why it's kind of hard for me to be like, I don't know, for me to find like, I guess for me, it's like, where's the end of this?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, the end of it could be like problem solved, you know, like you don't have any issues with this at all. Like that'd be the end of it. But I just don't know if that's what the end of it means for me.
Right. So it's coming to terms with what would that look like for you?
Yeah, I think so.
how to move from where you are now, which is an unhealthy spot, and like where you feel like you just constantly have these negative thoughts about yourself, moving from that to somewhere where you can feel okay about yourself.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like you were about 2 weeks ago. It wasn't as bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Like 2 weeks ago, I was really just like, I guess, neutral about it all.
Right.
And even though it was neutral, like it wasn't necessarily positive, but I guess it was like healthy for me compared, like it was healthy compared to now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And healthy compared to the past.
Correct?
Yeah. In the past, when you've struggled with that, how have you gotten out of it? What has helped? Or any changes that might have happened?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just because it's like it's something I've struggled with for a while now. That's almost like this natural cycle where it's like I know it'll pass.
Right.
But like something that has helped, I guess, is like working out more and just like reminding myself that like I'm doing this because it's good for me.
Yeah.
Not because I have to. Like that's helped a lot, just like being active, I guess. And I think it's hard because I work from home now, so like I don't have as much opportunity to like be active. And so I think like just being active in general has helped me a lot in the past with just like feeling like if I'm doing good for my body, then my body is good.
Yeah. And that's something that you enjoy doing too, is that correct? Like,
yeah.
Like going out and working out for you.
Yeah. Like I do, like when I can have that mindset, I do enjoy it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that sounds like a good goal to get to, even just like working out and then seeing where you are and how it makes you feel. Because if it is something that you enjoy, it could be something good to try to lean into. Yeah. I think we are actually out of time. So that would be a good place to pick up. Maybe try out going to the gym or even just going on a walk, and then we can talk about it more next week.
Sounds great.
Great.
Yeah.
I have no idea how long that's been.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you feel to be the counselor?
I like being polite more. I don't know. What about you? How did you feel? You go first.
Oh, I think I want to be a counselor more because it's not about me.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? It's like I'd rather hear about your problems than talk about my own.
No, that's totally fair.
Right? You know, but it's like it's not big to say that someone that wants to be counselor. Right.
But I think that's good that you want to talk about other people's feelings.
Yeah.
As a counselor.
But I feel like, I mean, it was definitely good. I think it gave me a lot of insight, and there are a few moments where I was like, huh, like I hadn't thought about that yet. And that was nice to kind of feel like I had some refresh, like new ideas.
Yeah.
Like just to kind of like get out of my own thinking pattern. And
Yeah,
no,
it's fair.
Get someone else's perspective on it. I think it's just helpful because then I don't feel like I'm like in this cycle of like my own thoughts, but like I have some new like input to kind of like relish on.
Right. No, that's good.
I think you did really good.
Thanks. I got scared.
Really?
I feel like I didn't say enough. Like I didn't talk much, and part of it is because I know that like your style is more reflecting, and you like enjoy that, and so because we just talked about that, I like wanted to help with that. Also, I was stressed about the time because we didn't set a timer, so I think I was a little bit just like stressed.
Yeah, I could tell towards the end you were kind of starting to like.
Yeah, and I couldn't see the time because it was right behind your head.
Yeah.
So
I meant to tell you that during yours. So there's moments I'd be like,
yeah.
I know she thought about that.
But. Yeah, that's okay. Now I can see it actually. So don't know how that changed.
And I was also like during my session, I was afraid I was recording.
Oh yeah.
So there's a point where I think we were like maybe like 10 minutes in.
I can see that. I can see that.
I was like, oh my god, did I hit record or not?
Yeah.
So it's so hard because it's like, you know, during these role plays, there's a lot of other aspects you have to consider other than just like, I'm not just like being a counselor.
Yeah.
Like all the other things.
Yeah, you can't just be present almost fully like you can in counseling. But even in counseling, you're still thinking of a whole bunch of other things. Right. Like the paperwork you have to do and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess it's just like being like having that selective focus.
Yeah, definitely.
Or we don't put that stuff on the back burner.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I guess like
That takes practice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like of course it's gonna be hard the first couple times. Like I'm sure the first time you have a client, like they're poop your pants.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, like honestly.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I think about it, I'm like,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. I think it was hard for me sometimes just because I didn't want to be insensitive. And I think it was hard being like your friend because I just wanted to like love and support you. And I felt like I feel like I could still do that as a counselor.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure like how necessarily, you know. So I feel like it didn't come off as love and support as much as like maybe like disregard to it. And I didn't want that. But
no. I did not feel like you disregarded it at all.
Okay.
Like I think you actually did a really good job as a counselor. I think like you're right. I think that's why I think, you know, is hopefully what role plays will help us learn how to do is like learn how to love with boundaries.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
Yeah.
Cause like I definitely like sometimes I think about like if I want to see clients, you know, with these problems, like I could see myself totally being like, oh baby girl, like come here, let me love you, let me totally just like cherish you.
Right.
But you know, you have to have professional boundaries.
Yeah.
Right? I can't treat her like she's my kid. That's very unethical of me and unprofessional of me.
You shout unethical.
So you can very clear what I'm trying to.
Yeah. But what did you think as the client? What would you say good and not good?
I honestly I think you did a really good job. I think you could have talked less. I do.
Really? Wow.
But that's also like my preference.
Right.
But I think like for me, I think you had like just the right amount of times. I think there are a few moments where I could tell you wanted to keep saying something.
Yeah.
And like part of me's like, oh, I feel bad, I cut you off. Part of me's also like, she's let me say.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think like that's also like part of being a counselor is like, you know, you're gonna have clients that like need you to say a lot. You get clients who don't. Yeah, who don't. So it's kind of hard because like there'll be a time for both.
Right. You know? And I think the hard part is like knowing that like you're supposed to interrupt too. Like
because you have to like
how do you put that into play? And I think that's something that I could have done better. Just because like there are times when we talk a lot and I was like, oh, I could tie this to something else, but also like I know it's not your style, so I just hope I don't get off the bat.
But you could have done that. I wouldn't care.
Yeah, I think it's hard because of grading, you know, because you're thinking of like all these things for grading rather than just a client. Like if it's just like if I was actually your therapist and like I knew your preferred style, then I would have just let you talk and like try to like add some points like I did. Yeah. But with the grading, it's always in the back of your head of like, what am I going to get docked from? Well, like, did I do this wrong? Am I slouching? Am I leaning forward too much? Like, there's so much more because you're like being graded in my mind anyway.
No, I agree. That's totally how I felt when I did mine. Yeah. Was when I was like, there's a few times I was like, shoot, I need to make sure I'm like following the rubric.
Right.
Even like
as Lyrian theory.
Yeah, and even as like the client though.
Right.
Knowing like you had a rubric, like there's some pressure being like,
yeah,
make sure like, you know,
yeah,
give her something to work with.
Right.
You know? But my leg did fall asleep sitting like this.
Cool. You wanna adjust?
And I tried to move it during the video. And I was trying like, yeah.
That's okay. That happens.
Also like I don't have socks on.
Oh,
so I was like, oh, let me just throw my foot out there.
Yeah.
So
it's okay.
But I think you did really good.
Thanks.
You know, I think I just don't worry about like meeting my
Isn't that what I need to do as a counselor?
Don't worry about my preference as a counselor.
Oh, yeah.
As in like everyone's gonna have a preference of a counselor.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why there's a lot of different counselors and we all have our different styles, because guess what? There is a counselor for everyone.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna like if there's one thing I've like observed and I've learned is that like not every client I have is gonna love me, and some of them are gonna leave, and that's okay because you know I have my style and they have their preference, and hopefully you'll find a clientele that like jives with that,
right?
You know, so it's like don't worry about because then you're being inauthentic, you know,
right?
It's like I always tell my mom like they can take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Like, you are you, and you are the counselor that
That's true.
like you have developed into, and you're proud of that.
Yeah.
So don't change and try to fit for these clients. Like,
Gotcha.
obviously, within reason.
Right.
You know, like obviously, you know, it's like when she's nervous for a certain kind of client, I'm like, or if like they give them bad feedback, I'm always like, well, it's okay, like, you know, it's okay if you don't get along with everyone. Like,
Right.
you don't need to be everyone's therapist. Thankfully, there's a ton of us with different personalities. So I think it's just like
That's true.
hard because like you want to obviously help everyone,
Right.
but realizing you might not always be the right therapist for everyone.
Yeah. Are you trying to tell me I'm not the right therapist again?
No.
Are you breaking up with me?
So I think it's time we talk.
I'm seeing other therapists.
I'm seeing a real therapist.
That's very good for you.
Yeah, so
You get it. Yeah. I think yeah. I feel like for this specific thing, I feel like I should have talked more, but I don't know. Did I talk like
I think you talked.
I'm afraid I don't have anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think you did a really. I think it's actually really
Okay.
good. Like it felt like I would say it felt like a good 70 me, 30 you, maybe 60 me, probably 70 me, 30 you.
30, yeah.
Like it felt like a pretty good. Like I felt like it was a pretty good balance.
Okay. Good.
Like for me at least, you know.
Yeah. I just hope that like for the like grading thing, I hope it's enough that like I can find 5 minutes.
Well, you asked them. Well, it does be 2 minutes. I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I think like whenever you ask them to do questions, like do those sections.
Okay. Gotcha.
Because there were a few times in the video where like I didn't give as long. The whole time like some of my responses were so long.
Right.
So like if you can find, I think like a clip where it's like you ask something, short response, you ask something, maybe long response.
Yeah,
that'd
so
be
then
good.
it's like
or even just like you ask long response, but then you have a good reflection of my response.
right.
I think that'd be good.
Okay.
Because that's what I think I'm gonna do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like you can find one of the clips of the questions you asked, and then just like start from there, do my response, and then end it after you've like reflected back what I said.
Yeah, that's fair. I feel like I did more reflecting at the beginning than at the end.
Yeah.
Because I was starting with a lot of reflecting, and then I just kind of through reflecting. I was like, I feel it just felt like I was saying the exact same things, and I know that that's what it is.
Yeah.
And like different words, and I think at one point I did okay with it, but like there's one time that I said completely opposite words than you. Same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna look for that, but because but yeah, that's scary. Glad it's over. Cheers. Cold tea. We still have another 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, you know. Oh,
Toes.
I was gonna lay my feet out to
We're just like dog socks now.
chillax. No, my sock is definitely not dry.
So sorry.
It's okay because I didn't think about it until I stepped in and I was like,
yeah. I also think it was hard because it got late. Like we started this at like 7 and now it's almost 10. And so we've been doing this for a long time.
imagine if I came at like 7.
If you came at 7? Oh, that would have been late. We would have been going until midnight. I'm glad we moved your car though.
Yeah. So I get to tell.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate. I'd have something to talk about next. Last time I was at our first house, I got my car too.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, do you feel like it went well for you?
Yeah.
I feel like you're not super happy with it.
No, but I didn't think I would be.
Yeah.
I think I just like we are our own worst critics, and I think that I also put so much pressure on my grade that I'm worried that I'm not gonna get an A, and that stresses me the F out. So,
but
which is okay. But yeah.
The grade doesn't reflect how you are as a counselor.
Well, it does though, because it's the role play.
But the rubric isn't necessarily realistic to how you would be as a counselor.
Yeah.
Like
in my mind, if I failed this, then that
means you're gonna
counseling
fail as
isn't
a
for
counselor.
me. Yeah. Then I
get
chose
that.
the wrong profession.
I get that. I feel like if you like that would have been me like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like definitely that like, oh my god, if I do bad this, I'm gonna like fail. But if there's one thing I've learned, I feel like about counseling is that like academically
doesn't matter as much. Yeah. No, that's true.
Like my mom tells me all the time, she's like, there's times where I sit with clients and like nothing I learned ever prepared me for this moment.
Oh yeah.
Like,
that's funny.
you know, she's like,
Yeah.
there are times like you cannot let like the grade you see be like, oh my god, that means I'm only gonna be 80% of a good client, you know, or of a therapist.
Counselor.
Yeah.
If you're judging yourself by the client, then that's bad.
Yeah.
If I'm taking your grade into consideration, I got
Yeah.
problems.
You know, it's like, the
Yeah.
feedback is there. You know,
It's the first one.
and you don't want perfect. I don't want perfect. If I'm honest,
Yeah.
would it feel great to get a perfect score? Yeah. But then there's the pressure of like you have to do that every single time.
That's true.
But then it's also like, how are you gonna ever grow and develop
That's so true.
if you can't get the criticism, you know?
Yeah.
And just because you get critiques doesn't mean it's bad.
True. Critiques are good.
Yeah.
A B is not. Just kidding. No, I was just like, it is our first role play, so we're gonna grow, and if we don't, then like
Then you might have to.
then we have issues.
Yeah.
So it's good to get the first one out of the way, and then we don't have to worry about it in the future. But yeah.
I mean, I'm happy it's mine.
Yeah, I know we redid it.
That's because you said to, because it's too short.
Yeah, and then you wanted it to be 2 minutes longer. I was like, why did we redo it then?
Ran out of time. No, it's 35 minutes long. Yeah, I looked at the timestamps of it.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it was actually 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So
When you wanted to stop at 26 or something, I was like, no.
okay, see, but it was worth it.
Yeah.
I mean,
we
actually,
got to the full length.
it's half because like part of me's like I wish we didn't redo it,
Yeah.
but part of me's also like,
For which reasons?
yeah,
Like, what reasons do you not want to redo it?
because like I said, it's so much more authentic the first time.
Yeah.
But then
It's hard to not like pretend like we're playing part. That's how I even felt like when we were like we just talked about some of this stuff with your issue, and so then like when we were talking about now, it felt hard because like Diana was trying to like kind of like almost save like my response for then, but then it was different because of the screen. So then I'm like, yeah, you know what I mean.
I think next role play, we just know.
Don't talk about anything.
I get it. Hi, ready?
Go.
No, I think it's like now we know like one and done. Well, and now we also know like the format, how it's gonna lay out.
Right.
And I think that's the hard part about going first is like the technicalities of like
yeah. So we don't have to worry about next time.
Yeah.
Like the alarm going off.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what
Yeah.
I think I could have gone longer. 'Cause
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't know I was at 15 minutes. I think I
Right.
could have gone longer, and then the alarm went off, and I was like,
Yeah. Yeah. And 20 minutes is a good amount too. Like
Yeah.
20. I have no idea how long this is gonna be, but we
Yeah.
still have another 5 minutes, I believe.
No,
You
I think you're good.
think?
Yeah.
Is there any last? Let's do final thoughts.
Final thoughts?
Mhm.
I think you did a really good job.
Oh, I meant in general, not about me. It's not making about me, just in general.
In general, I think it could go as well as we'd hoped for the first one.
Cheers to that. Mine's empty, but that's okay. Okay. Buddy, I'm so scared it's gonna be too short.
Oh, bro, you're gonna be at like 45 minutes plus.
No, I'm not. Because we talked for a while before. Okay, wait. Do I pause it first?